World.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program for a special news bulletin from Twisted World.
What is up, Twisted World? We're back, as always, with my boys, Andy and Cody. What up, guys?
Yo.
So, we are on episode 30. Remember when we kicked this off?
I don't.
Episode 30.
Big 3-0.
The big 3-0. So, we're still waiting to find out about last episode and, how many sociopaths exist out there. Did we ever get sponsorship, by the way, from Cody's Antics?
No.
Yeah, no, but you should definitely check out
No.
Oh,
We're not.
Blizzard's
Stop. We're not
new
reevaluating this.
mobile game.
We're not coming back.
soon.
We're good.
It's called Arclight Rumble, and it's phenomenal.
It's phenomenal.
Gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. So we got there's a lot of things coming. Some changes and whatnot. Andy, do you wanna run that?
The changes?
The changes, maybe,
Yeah.
a little bit here and there.
The changes are that Cody tried cold pizza and loved it.
What are you guys talking about?
No.
You guys are. I'm telling you, you guys are starting to sound crazy on these podcasts. Just talking about whatever you want.
It's 30 podcasts, a lot of podcasts. I didn't think it was very many, but I'm starting to wear down a little bit. I'm starting to think differently, and I've become something different.
Oh, that cold pizza.
Maybe. No, we're going to be doing things a little bit different in the coming months, because some of us are going to be relocating. We're going to be moving and not living as close to each other as we do right now. So
we're gonna have some remote work for a minute.
yeah,
I'm hoping how that works.
I'm hoping though that when we start it, so we're gonna be doing some remote work where we're all gonna be kind of doing it through a Discord or whatever, recording our podcast similar to the way we do now. Maybe even screen sharing so we can kind of see what we're all talking about. But I think the idea is to transform that into not only just an audio podcast, but a video podcast. Get webcams and be able to do that until we can get something a little bit more concrete with a studio. But until then, I mean, we're not going to live as close to each other as we do now. So this will be the way it's going to be, at least for the foreseeable future. And then, but as we know more and we are able to figure out how that's going to look, we'll let people know. But yeah, so you may notice some differences in the audio quality. I'm going to try my best to edit and modify those as best as possible. But I think what we're going to do is Discord to start, and then make sure that everybody, including Cody, has a webcam. I say Cody because he doesn't have a webcam and he needs a webcam. But yeah, making sure that everybody has everything they need and start doing some video stuff and just see what happens, because I think video ultimately is where we get the most followers. I think that I think we're doing pretty good on numbers. I think we were looking in the last 7 days. Was it 7 days?
Yeah,
we've had 135 downloads.
Yeah,
in the last 7 days, which is really good. Not specifically just one episode, but kind of split across a lot of our most recent episodes. That's pretty good.
And Facebook's podcast was short lived.
Yeah, so June of 2021, I think they launched their podcast RSS feed, which basically means that when we post a podcast, it can actually be broadcasted to Facebook.
Yeah.
And for anybody that's using the phone, when we posted advertisement saying that we had dropped a new episode, you could actually listen to the episode on the Facebook app. That's going away at the beginning of June. They're discontinuing it. I guess they didn't see a good following on it. We always had mixed reviews.
Too much competition, probably.
There's a lot of competition out there.
Yeah, and Apple's killing the game.
Well, yeah, and then to support that, it's tough, right? We also saw some really mixed feelings with it because we had some months where it was like our analytics were super high, and then some where they were just like almost non-existent from Facebook. So that being said, Facebook, you won't be able to see it on there. However, the advertisement will still happen on there, and in those advertisements that we drop that say new episode dropping, there are links to our link tree that has access to all of our different podcast sites. The main ones are going to be Apple on your Apple iPhones, or Spotify on your Android phones, Google. I mean, there are anywhere you can listen to podcasts, we're on.
Recently, we had some listeners on iHeartRadio.
Oh, not even that. Castbox.
Yeah.
Drizzle or Diesel.
Yeah.
Diesel is a Spotify version in the UK.
What?
Yeah, did you know that? So there's I want to call it Deezer. There's an
Bro.
app called Deezer that's
Bro,
just like Spotify.
Cody, for our UK listeners, can you give them a little accent?
Why
out there?
wouldn't they just use Spotify?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a reason for that, but that's the UK
Bloody
version
wanker
of,
is what it is. No, I'm saying.
So
You know what I mean?
you know what I mean?
it may be owned by
A bottle of
Spotify.
water.
Give some love to our UK listeners. We got a little bit. What do we have? A few? 2, 3, 4,
I don't
10?
know. It's called Deezer. Deezer's the app,
And we had downloads on it.
and we had downloads.
Sounds what like geezer to me.
But nonetheless, we're on almost every site you can think of that has podcasts. And if you do find one or an app or something that we're not on, please let us know, because I've been trying to kill the game and get us on every single platform that you can possibly think of. So we should be on just about every application known to man that has podcasts.
And this move that we're making and whatnot. So we are going to be, like I said, we're going to try to figure it out. Discord, whatever the case may be.
It's French.
But
French. Okay, so I knew it was from Europe. But it's French. Okay,
so we're in France.
France.
So
Oui.
Oh yeah.
so we got some French listeners. Okay, all right.
The dirty French people.
What? Bro, we got French listeners.
They know they're dirty. Listen, they're not offended by that.
What makes them dirty? France
Have you been
looks
there?
Nice. I've never been there. No, have you?
No, but I've heard terrible stories about how dirty the people are, and even worse stories about how dirty the city is.
Like
It's
dirty,
terrible.
like they don't shower. Like, come on, bro. I mean, it's San Francisco. You go there,
Yeah,
and
like they don't
it
shower.
smells like urine. And
My new job has a factory in France, so
yeah,
secretly hoping that I get to go on a business trip to France. That would be legit. Yeah. Okay, so the move's happening.
Yeah.
The good thing is even though we're
And
not
we're-
going to necessarily be close to each other, we are all moving to the same state.
and we're going to be near one of the largest cities in the country.
Yeah. How about them Cowboys?
Yes,
Mhm.
that's all. Yeah, drop it like it's hot. Anyway, so we're gonna be near one of the largest cities in the country. There's some potential opportunities and stuff, and that I'll be pursuing for the podcast, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But either way, we're gonna continue to have fun and have crazy antics. Continue to try to listen to Cody and his off the wall antics.
I'm perfectly grounded in reality. I don't know what you're referencing.
Well, I'm this episode. I can only imagine what's gonna come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
What are we talking
We'll
about
see.
today?
It's well, we're going to talk about science, but I'm sure somehow
Science.
science.
Yeah.
I'm sure somehow you are going to be twisting this. So
I did pretty well in science. We'll see.
you like
What's pretty well?
Like what's pretty well?
like
when
we say pretty
barely
well,
passed.
what's pretty
C
well?
plus, dude.
How does a computer IT guy get a C in science?
Hey, listen,
Bro, I may be in IT, but I flunked the 8th grade and my junior year. So
Is flunking even a thing these days? I heard everybody gets just
you can flunk. So you can flunk in like junior high, and they just go to your parents and go, I mean, do you want to put them in high school? We think it's a huge mistake. And then they can advise all they want, but they can't do anything about it. And it's totally up to the parent. In high school, they can't hold you back though without the parent consent. So
Excellent.
there's that, because there are state standards and stuff like that. So, but yeah, answer your question.
California doesn't.
Yeah,
stand it.
California, no child left behind, bro. There's people graduating with
Yeah.
GPAs that
Your
are.
teachers cared about you if that's what happened.
So did you get held back
What?
Did you get held back?
I got held back my junior year
in high school?
in high school.
You did junior year twice?
I did junior. I did a victory lap in my junior year.
You did a victory lap.
Yeah. Giga Chad junior year.
The things.
It was all online, so I really didn't give a frick. So,
That's good.
K-12.
That's good.
yeah. Shout
Now
out
he's a
to
government employee.
Yeah, shout out to the government.
That's fantastic.
Just another cog.
Yeah.
Oh, brother.
Oh, so for all you out there, they're like, man, I failed junior year, sophomore year. I'm never gonna make it. Cody's actually quite successful. He's quite successful young man
for
and
flunking
for
2
failing
grades.
2 grades?
8th grade and junior year.
Oh, your parents held you back?
You ever had a 0.0 GPA? That's me. Did you not think that's possible? It is. I got it in 8th grade. My last semester in 8th grade, I had a 0.0
Did you
GPA.
not
Don't
do
you-
anything?
I didn't do anything. I didn't care.
Nothing.
I did not care.
You didn't get a single point.
No, didn't even do anything. Like, whatever. I didn't
What
freaking
game
care.
were you playing?
Probably RuneScape.
How crazy. So
Then I convinced my parents to put me in online school, to which I was like, this is tight. And then I played RuneScape for like literally all day long.
and you passed.
I passed my sophomore year, and then my junior year, I was kind of like, let's see how far we can push this. And then procrastinated a bunch of papers, didn't turn them in on time, got held back. And then I was like, oh, well, more time to play RuneScape. I don't freaking care. And then, and then I graduated. I was fine. I was freaking chilling.
So your testament here is that people can get held back, they can fail grades, and they can still be successful in this world.
Absolutely. This is America, the greatest country on
Tell
earth.
me one story you
Homeowner,
haven't
you make
heard.
great money. I mean, it's crazy.
I'm chilling.
Yeah, no.
Life
great
don't-
benefits.
Your high school years do not define you whatsoever. Like,
no,
you-
I would agree there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
agree
disagree
there.
at all. Yeah.
If anything, you see a transformation in your life when you start to find the things that you really love. Cody
Yeah.
didn't love high school. Right?
No, it
was
He didn't,
so
right.
dumb.
He hated it, but
Yeah.
he starts to find things that he loves and the passion he has for it. And, then he gets married and has a dog and things happen and life happens. And next thing you know, your life is what it is. And you're like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I didn't, the kid that graduated high school at 17, he didn't belong here. Right.
Yeah.
That's like,
Right?
So-
So it's
Anyways.
possible. You can come out the woods and still rock and roll.
Yep.
So let's bring up our topic. Okay. Because I think Andy and I are going to talk about, the science and things like that. And
Are we?
and my fear is
I guess
Cody-
biologist.
Cody.
I don't believe anything you say then.
No.
I love the pun there.
Hey, leave that video up though, because we're
this
going to
one?
talk about that in here.
Dude,
in a
that's
second.
creepy.
That is. So
It's so disturbing.
before we talk about it though, let's talk about what we're going to talk about. Animal human hybrids. Okay. So
Sick.
for all of you that are trying to figure out what that means, most of you probably already can picture it, but basically human DNA mixed with animal DNA to create a creature that is both.
A monstrosity.
Now, the science behind it, and now people are like, that's not real. Well, let me give you just a small tad bit on here. Okay. Let's see here. So in 2017, they started lifting some of the bans. So before science, as in the world was like, absolutely not. You cannot do this stuff. It is not okay. It is
Morally, ethically.
yeah, just boom, 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 boom. And then 2017, they start lightening up and they start saying you can do it. 2019, they said now you can bring them to term. So you can create these creatures
And bore them.
and allow them to become alive. Because before, when 2017, they just allowed them to be basically petri, let them, and then they would have to kill them off. They
And
wouldn't.
thus-
They could not come alive and take breath. Now they can take breath.
And thus, COVID was born. No.
yeah. So the bats were half.
We'll
human,
get to that because there's a TV show that ties
Yes.
this whole thing together,
Yeah.
and
it's popular.
it's very popular,
'cause
but
it's already they're already working on.
I'm making a
season 2 and
joke,
3
but
and-
I think
yeah.
back to that TV show and I go, huh,
Yeah,
how about that?
Like interesting.
Interesting.
So yeah, we'll talk about that because that is a big thing, and who knows? It's a cool little side trail to COVID and how they tie the bats into COVID
Right.
and so on and so forth. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But so animal human hybrids, a little bit of genetic mixing. So some background. So they've been doing it to animals for a long time. In fact, there's some scientists that believe that the Mesopotamians were doing it way back in the day. So they made this cross genetic creature called a kunga,
Cool animal name.
right? So
Some DLC.
DLC.
It's some animal DLC. Yeah.
Downloadable
We
content.
drop some more creatures. Dropping new creatures. Let me know what you think.
Drop them today.
Yeah.
Hit us up.
God said, let's drop the DLC
What
today.
is-
Drop it.
What was a kunga?
So it was a mix of and I'm not swearing. It's a mix of a male ass and a female burrow, and basically, so it's and most people are
Aren't
like,
those two
"Isn't that the
different? Yeah, those are two different names of like donkeys. Aren't
That's right. So that's what I thought, but I looked
Yeah.
into it, and they're like, no, absolutely,
So they're different
genetically they are
species.
different,
They're different species.
and so they do not mate in nature.
Oh, gotcha.
So they're not going to go like, hey, I'm going to go hook up with you, and we're going to make this kunga. Like, so they know that they're through DNA testing and stuff like that these creatures wouldn't have mated in nature. Therefore, the ancient Mesopotamians we're messing around with genetics. Now, what does that do to people's mindsets as far as we're talking thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago? Okay. So what does that do? I mean, so Mesopotamians had some technology to be.
I don't have technology.
What's that?
I don't think they had technology.
How'd
I
they do
think
it?
a burrow. I think a burrow. I mean, just because they're different species, they may not naturally mate, but it's possible for things to happen.
And it's Kunga, Kunga.
Yeah, Kunga. Cody's looking it up.
Yeah, he's trying
see if we can get a picture of it.
Yeah.
Or a theorized picture of it. Basically, it just looks like a bigger donkey.
It's like a zebra without the stripes.
Right. So that's exactly what it was. It was genetically modified. They brought them together to create a larger animal that can do heavier work.
Right.
So
it's the way we make chickens now.
And bananas.
Did you ever see chickens in like the 50s and compared to chickens now that they grow on farms?
They were like
they're
tiny
genetically, dude, if you've not seen this, they're genetically bred. Supersize Me, right? The guy that did the McDonald's thing.
Yeah.
Like in 2019, he did another Supersize Me 2, and he did it on chicken, and he was going to open his own chicken store. So he ends up becoming a chicken farmer, and in the process learns that there's these specifically genetically bred chickens that grow at a rate like 40 or 4,000 times faster than original chickens. Like so fast that a large number of the chickens do die because of heart attacks because of how much weight they have to carry around from stress.
Huh.
Like it's crazy. But
do we eat the ones that die? Are they?
We don't eat the ones that die.
Are you sure about that?
You imagine that not all the ones that we're eating are
Cody,
healthy.
Did you have any heart attack chicken lately?
Heart attack chicken?
Yeah, like the chicken died of a heart attack because it grew so large.
I mean, when I was working at Chick-fil-A, we saw these massive fillets that would come in. No doubt they had heart attacks. No doubt. That chicken was dummy thick with 2 C's. So.
Hey, Rabbit Trail, real quick. A buddy of mine posted this picture from, he was at a Chick-fil-A down in Arizona, I think. And it's this picture of this happy family. And behind him, the guy's carrying a red and white umbrella. And so he posts on Facebook and he goes, I knew Chick-fil-A was up to something. And his wife saw, nobody's going to get it. And instantly I respond, oh, I do. So Chick-fil-A and umbrella are making zombies, bro.
So look,
what's in the Chick-fil-A sauce? We want to know.
1957.
Yeah.
1978.
So showing a picture of me, showing a picture. Oh my God. So in 1957, this chicken looks like it's an anorexic. Like you would have gotten 3 bites out of it. And then in 2005,
Giga chicken
is
Giga chicken.
How old do you think these chickens are?
I don't know.
3 months.
All of them?
All of them.
So the one in 2005 looks like it's got a good 20 pounds on the rest of them. Think
It
about a chicken at about...
puts it into grams, right? So in
I see that.
1957, the average chicken was about 905 grams, right?
Okay.
It gets a little bit bigger in 1978, but I'm just going to jump ahead to 2005 when they started this. They had created this new breed, and I'll have to find the breed, but 4,200 grams.
So this isn't from steroids. They genetically modified this.
This is genetically modified.
They created the DNA.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's genetically modified, and that's what we use today in most of the chicken stores.
I wonder if they can genetically modify meat to look like Giga
There
Chad.
is no other meat in the world that's sold as much.
There's a filter on Instagram turns you into Giga Chad.
No, I'm gonna look like him in real life. I'm just like, hey, can you genetically modify me? I'll sign off waivers, liability, whatever. You know.
Yeah. So
that'd be sweet.
I know this is kind of going off topic, but the point is that we've already, even in our current society, genetically modify things to do things. You ever heard of grafting when it comes to plants? Like you can actually hybrid plants as well.
Yeah.
I mean they've been
they take from one and cross and right. Mm-hmm. So it can happen there. It's not out of any illusion that it's happening elsewhere. And we're talking back to Mesopotamia.
But what you're talking about is completely different DNA strands. So like dogs, they've done the same thing to create other breeds of dogs over thousands of years. We know that. We know that certain dogs
breeds are different from species. I understand what you're saying. It's two species, but
completely different species that would not mate in nature.
Well,
I don't know. Like some humans.
I believe that it can mate. Whether or not it's successful is another thing. The problem is, I think burros and donkeys are very, very similar. To say that it's not possible, I think it could be.
Before we get deeper into the animal human crossover, let's get. I'm curious, Cody. How many hybrid animals are you aware of?
I'm aware of the Liger,
which is
a lion and a tiger mixed.
Okay, is that your favorite? The Liger.
It sounds pretty cool. I mean, there are some fantasy ones that I know of, but I don't know if they're actually real yet.
Like what?
Minotaurs are pretty sick.
So that wouldn't that be animal human though?
It would. It'd be horse mixed with what's it called, right?
And we're gonna
No,
talk
those
about
are centaurs. Minotaurs are bulls.
Bulls mixed
but
with
they
with
walk
human.
on hind legs.
Yeah,
Right.
They
yeah.
they have arms.
Right.
And they speak.
Oh, well,
and everything we've ever seen them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
sometimes, yeah.
So I mean, and we'll talk about mythology a lot because there's a lot in mythology, a lot across animal human in mythology, and it like different parts of the world that depict these animal human crossovers. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But what about a wolfen?
A wolfen.
Yes,
Oh, is that like
It's deceiving.
it's deceiving. Yeah, so I thought it was like
A wolf,
yeah,
but it's WH.
yeah, WHOLPHIN, a wolfen.
it's a dolphin and a wolf?
No, it's a dolphin and a whale. This is an actual hybrid that they made,
Oh,
and a killer whale.
that's cool.
They mix dolphins, which are fast, smart, with killer whales, which are the most
So it's
aggressive
basically a
animal in the
dolphin.
sea.
It's what I'm seeing from these pictures is basically a dolphin, but it has the darker skin of like the killer whale and the head of a killer whale.
Dude, these things are
But
like
the size
jet
of the-
black.
Yeah, the size of a dolphin.
That's terrifying.
Instead of having like
and look at its teeth,
the
bro.
long snout, but it
Bro,
looks like that's gnarly.
This thing will mess you up.
right?
Bro, if I saw one of
That's
those.
scary. It's like a stealth bomber.
Yeah, no, dude.
Like, what is the point of making that? Why are you scientists messing around?
I think it's just to make it. I don't think they care what they do. I think just the success of being able to crossbreed things or species is the point. If they could do it with this, I'm sure they believe they could do it with. It's a theory, right? And if you can somehow realize that theory by doing it,
So what about a beefalo?
Is that a cow and a buffalo?
yes.
Oh, no.
Yes. Why we would ever call it a
Oh,
beefalo
beefalo.
is so like
Hey, what you having tonight? Hey, can I get that beefalo?
That's disgusting.
Can I
it's so disgusting. No, I think my favorite is the growler bear.
I know the growler.
The growler bear.
bear.
The growler bear.
Yes.
What about a griffin?
Griffin is what, a lion mixed with
An eagle.
Eagle?
Yeah.
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 It's more mythical, right?
But yeah, these are actually confirmed hybrids. These are scientists have actually made these things.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about science making animals and creatures in labs, you can't go without saying also, cloning. Cloning has successfully been done with a multitude of animals now. They've released a lot of regulation on it. So I'm sure somebody somewhere is trying to clone humans, right? Pretty inevitable. So let's start talking about the crossover between animals and humans. So again, 2017, they successfully created the first human pig chimeric embryo. The embryo consisted mostly of pig cells and some human cells. Scientists stated they hope to use technology to address the shortage of donor organs. So that's their stance, right?
It's always been the stance, right? That's most of the movies and the shows we've watched is that they're going to create these clones so that we
Everything
have
starts off with
protection
a
for-
good purpose.
It's
but-
about living forever.
yeah.
That's really what this is about.
Well, yeah.
It's the idea that we have the sustainability of donors because it doesn't rely on individuals; it relies on clones. The problem is you start crossing into human rights, you start crossing into rights there, and that's where it starts to violate things.
We
But
should mix with cats so that we can get 9 lives.
I knew it. See,
That would be-
this is
That it's
Wait,
not
wait,
infinite.
wait,
It's
did
not
that-
infinite, but it's a good step in the right direction.
and when we fall, we would always fall on our hands and feet.
Exactly. We would
never fall
always
flat.
fall on our feet. Yep.
You could somebody could throw. You could be in a car crash,
yeah.
but when you flip out,
You're on your feet.
You're on your
Yeah,
feet.
just-
Like boing,
What was that?
boing.
Is that the sound you make when you land? Boing as you land.
I don't know.
No fall damage.
Exactly. It's a really good step in the right direction. I think cats are a really good way to go.
So Cody has a video up, and I want him to describe this video. I want him
Okay.
to talk about it. This is supposed. What is this? First off,
So it says the title of the video is "Mutant Human Face Like Newborn Pig Hybrid in South America." It's a mouthful, but basically, there's this guy with like a vertical phone type camera going on, and he's basically filming his litter of piglets. And there's one piglet in particular that's like not moving around like the rest; it's just on its side, chilling. It's like struggling to live. And he goes in. He looks like he's moving some piglets around. Thing's just like looks like it's sleeping almost. Like it just, I don't know. It's like barely existing. Like it's just trying to just breathe, I guess. I don't know. And so he pulls it out.
So it's a pig? It's
a piglet. It looks like a piglet. I mean,
right.
it's got hooves.
It was just born.
Yeah. And so, but its face is, its visage just looks so
Humanesque.
not pig-like. It's very human. It's got a giant forehead for whatever reason.
Well, it looks like a head.
Look at that
like
noggin.
an actual skull.
Yeah, it looks like a skull.
Like a human skull.
Yeah.
And then so it's got these eye sockets too, where eyes would be, right? But there are no eyes there. So it's just like got these eyebrows, what looks like hairy white eyebrows, but there are no eyes in these eye sockets. So it's like an empty husk of what would be a human visage, but there's just nothing.
And its ears are a
Pig
little
ears.
more humanesque.
Well, I mean, they're
Well, a little bit
flappy.
like he just showed it though.
Yeah.
They're flappy like a pig, but they have the shape of like a human ear.
Yeah. And I don't know what kind of tomfoolery went on with Mama Pig and the farmer, but
Oh my God.
they need to stop.
This is in South America.
Yeah, South America. So, I mean, anything goes. But man,
She was feeling lonely that night, or he was feeling lonely.
do
that
not
night.
eat that piglet, whatever you do. That has some weird, wacko stuff going on with that pig. So, any E-I-E-I-O.
Oh my
Oh my God.
So 2019, this is like where it gets big, because in 2019 they have now said, hey, it's okay, you can bring these things to term, right? And again, so Japan was the first to approve the first animal human embryo experiments and allowing these creations, these creatures, to come to term. Again, their point is hey, we're going to take this animal and we're going to, the way the article's read, and this is what I read, this is what the scientists that are for this state is, they're going to put the human DNA genes specifically into the organ, right?
Of the animal?
Of the animal.
Okay.
So not necessarily like, so when people start thinking like, they're not crossing the entire DNA chain, right?
Right.
So
They're just splicing.
they're just
essentially.
splicing into a piece for the organ purposes, so that if the animal comes to full and it's an active human organ within an animal.
Yeah. So basically, it has the genetic that can be compatible with a human being.
Right. Here's the problem. Okay. There's a lot of outcry from the science community on the opposite side. So
Saying
so these bioethicists are extremely concerned. I mean, there's a lot of like just hard argument against this, because they're saying, as we know, DNA will naturally alter to environments. DNA changes. We've seen that in, like, you can see even within its own species, you can see animals have evolved, right, over time, and because of it taking out of certain terrains and so on and so forth, they adapt, right? The DNA, the science behind DNA is it's prone to adapting and ever changing. So with that being said, these I hope I'm pronouncing this right, bioethicists are stating that you put this DNA into these animals, and granted, you're putting it into the organs to create the organ, and they're doing it successfully, by the way. This is something they've been doing for years, and now they're allowing it to come to term. You allow this creature to come to term. What's going to happen when this creature comes to term, and then the next one, and they keep doing this, and the DNA changes itself, right? The DNA, like while the embryo is growing, it alters, and the DNA seeps into the brain, for instance. And that was their specific thing. Now you're talking about, hey, if you put this into, I don't know, a rat or some other animal, and then the DNA seeps into the brain, now you're potentially running the risk of giving this animal cognitive thinking. And
this is heavily predicated on the idea that evolution is a thing.
It's not even just evolution. We know that DNA can alter. I mean, evolution is the belief that God didn't create it, that it created itself. But there's not to say that, like, there's not an adaptive nature behind DNA. And so again, they're playing God. They're messing around with this. One of the greatest examples, there's the old, I think 70s or 80s old Planet of the Apes movies. Ignore them. Then there was the Mark Wahlberg one. Ignore that one for a minute. The newest ones, you guys seen those? Seen the newest Planet of the Apes?
Yeah.
And where they basically genetically modify this ape, and it adapts, and the brain has some cognitive thinking. Now, he did it on purpose because he was trying to cure Alzheimer's. If you guys remember, like his dad, I believe,
Right,
had Alzheimer's. So he purposely did it to the brain. And then here comes this free thinking monkey, and then sociopathic creature that eats cold pizza. So, and goes on a murderous rampage, and then gives it to other monkeys. And next thing you know, now we're the oddball out, and we got to fight monkeys. What do you think? Is it going to happen?
No.
So is it cool what they're doing? I mean, if it's for organ purposes and it saves human life, because the one thing that all these different scientists I saw all talk about the statistics about organ, I guess the scarcity of donor organs.
I don't know. I think morally it's not okay to try to play God.
Do we have?
Will they be successful in it? I don't believe so.
Do we think that? Do we think that when we mix human DNA with animals and we board them, do we think that they have a soul and they possess like actual like human life, or are they subhuman?
I don't know. Well, right now they're just putting it into organs, so it's not a free thinking human.
Right.
It's a.
Well,
what if it is and we just don't know?
I don't know if created life. I guess the theory there would be: does created life have a soul? Created meaning artificially created.
Yeah, synthetic.
Synthetic. Would it effectively have a soul? And probably not. It definitely probably wouldn't have a moral compass.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're out in.
I don't know that we're there yet. I don't know that they've. Well, I mean, I hope that we don't go there.
Very foggy. I don't have anything to. I don't have a litmus test to decide on whether that's moral or not. There's nothing that I know of that can tell me whether that's right or wrong. I don't know.
Last year, the first monkey human embryo was created. They successfully grew a monkey embryo containing human cells for the first time. It is the latest milestone in a rapidly advancing field that has drawn ethical questions continuously. Because now you're putting it in a creature that is smart. They can teach sign language to a monkey and all of that, and now they're starting to cross it with humans. So, Planet of the Apes.
The ethical,
I'm just saying,
the ethical moral line that is being crossed is the involvement of humans. Right? You want to mix animals together? I think people don't care. Like, go ahead and mix animals all you want. You want to create a gorilla pig? Go for it, right?
Gorilla pig.
But the idea that
just so you know, Cody's watching another video of, is that a gorilla? What is that?
That's a goat with a human face. Look
at
at it.
It's got to be a deformity though, because that is the second one. The second one has a almost identical face to the last one.
I don't know. The other one had a massive forehead. This one doesn't really.
It's got hair on it.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, you can clearly. I mean, the other one was just clearly bigger.
You know what? That goat looks like an ape, sort of, right? Like,
well, it's a black hair goat, but yeah, it does look like a monkey.
That's funky as all get out.
Yeah.
So
super weird.
Before we talk about like the show that we discussed earlier that we dropped a little bit, let's talk about the mythical aspect, right? So you have everything from werewolves. Okay, you see it's man, wolf, beast that transforms, of course, but you got Bigfoot. You have like the one thing I want to talk about. You got the Greeks, the Egyptians, the ancient Mesopotamians, and there was a northern dynasty of China that depict these half creature, half human,
like animal gods. Yeah,
right. Or mythical creatures. Like I said, the Greeks, we have the Minotaur. You've got the griffins and things like that. So you've got these hybrid animals and even hybrid animal humans that have been depicted across the world, right? Societies that did not necessarily. So is it too far-fetched to believe that maybe at one point, maybe before the earth flooded, and I know the people out there like, maybe you listeners out there are like, the earth flood is a myth. By the way, if one of the tallest mountains in the world has watermark. So just FYI. So at one point, the earth did flood. And so my question to is, was there an advanced society? We've talked about Atlantis in the past. Was there an advanced race being of people that were messing around with genetics and creating these things? And that's why we have maybe some of the depictions across the world, and they were actually creating them. Is that a realistic, feasible thing?
Here's my thought: is I believe that there may have been, because with no compass of any kind or no one to stop you,
right.
100% believe that they attempted to probably create these things. Whether or not these things lived, I doubt it. Right? The idea that there's a half man, half bull minotaur somewhere, but I believe, I'm sure someone put a head of a cow on a human body and was just like, this is what it was supposed to look like, and then it's modeled up, and then you have that on writings or chalked on a wall somewhere,
yes.
And it becomes myth, legend, whatever. But to say that it didn't happen, I would say it'd be foolish to say it. I think that twisted things happen.
Yeah.
You start, we watch shows like Vikings, and then they talk about all the things they do, and I'm like, dude, this is twisted, right?
Real talk.
But then you have stuff like, Egyptian gods like Anubis and some of those other ones that are all like half dog, or what? They're jackals, right? Right? Jackals with a human body. And so there's, I think that it's possible that those types of experiments happened. Whether or not they were successful, I don't think anything like that would have been as successful back then. And technology, in the way that we think about it, I mean, Atlantis is a cool fantasy, and we want it to be what we think it was going to be.
Right.
But an advanced society back then wouldn't have been the advanced society we see today.
Right.
The ability to splice genomes and do those things. I mean,
so it was really just fictitious,
Well, I'm not saying fictitious in the sense that it was alive.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that something like a minotaur wasn't created, or a centaur where they cut off a human body or a dead body and put it onto a horse and created these figurines and somehow put it on parade in some way.
It just made
but
some
whether or not it's alive,
puppets.
Hey man, people are twisted. That's why we had this podcast.
Especially
right?
back then, they didn't have TV or anything, so they had nothing to keep them,
Right.
occupied.
So, I mean, we've never found any proof to any of this as far as bones or skeletons.
Yeah, if I didn't have TV, I'd probably be cutting off bulls too. And
I mean,
showing them around.
If you were constantly bored, you're sitting around going, wonder what my dog and my neighbor would look like when I combine them.
Yeah.
But see, limits, right? Limits are the things that hold us from moving into that realm of craziness, right? Where we start like, okay, if I'm back then and I have the ability and the understanding of anatomy in some sense, right?
Yeah.
Not the same sense we have now, but like, I can cut someone open and work on them, and I'm working on them. What's to stop you from moving into that next realm? What's
right.
to stop us? What's the problem with it today? What's the problem? What ends up coming down to it is the Untitled bioethical group, right?
Yeah, the bioethicists.
Right. All of that comes from a foundation of we are not creators.
No, we shouldn't be playing.
We should not be playing God, right? So if you don't have that moral compass and there's no one there to stop you, what's to say that I'm just saying that I think it's possible for people to splice these things together. I doubt that any of them were ever successful, right?
For sure.
And that's what created the lore.
Let's just talk. And so as we get to the tail end of talking about these animal-human hybrids in this episode, let's talk about it again. So 2019, they say, hey, it's okay. You can grow these things to term. You can create the embryos. You don't have to kill them anymore. You can let them become alive animals. 2019, okay?
But do any of them ever live? Do we ever have proof that any of them lived for any significant amount of time?
I couldn't find the articles about it. No, okay. I know the monkeys didn't live very long.
Right.
Well, I don't know that the monkeys actually came to term in 2021. But again, the point is so 2019, okay? They're saying you can cross hybrid and you can make things. We know that animals, they've been making cross hybrid animals that have lived and come to life. And so let's talk about a fairly hot show that Netflix had created called Sweettooth. So tell us about Sweettooth. Let's get the premise on Sweettooth.
Yeah, so this is one of those shows that came out in the middle of like 2020. I think it was 2020, maybe 2021.
Right.
I added it to my list, and I would show it to like my wife. I'm like, hey, we should watch this when we had, we didn't have shows. And she's like, like it just never seemed interesting to her. And then just so you know, like the main character, his name is Sweettooth. he is a little boy and he has antlers.
He's a deer.
He's a deer, right?
Human deer.
Human deer.
Look fun.
Have you seen Sweet Tooth?
His face.
No.
His face looks like a deer,
You should
right?
watch
He
Sweet
has
Tooth,
some
though.
like he has like the deer nose and everything, but he's a sweet little innocent boy with little small antlers, right?
Yeah.
Not full grown, just little like pointed forks, right?
He's a very nice little young man.
Premise of the movie or the show is so much different than I thought. I thought it was going to be some kind of fantasy lore. It was going to be something.
Right.
But
So
what you dig into is you start to realize that at the same time that animal human hybrids came, they just randomly started being born. Right? It was just like this. The exact same time this is happening, there's a pandemic happening in the world.
A virus.
that
That's killing
is
people
rapidly
off
killing
left
people
and right.
off. And so as people are dying, these animal humans are being born, like bird girls and monkeys with and they show all these kids. And so there is a clear association with the creation of animal human hybrids. And it's not just one. Every baby that was born kind of thus forward were all animal human hybrids, right?
Yeah.
And
they were immune to the virus, by
they
the way.
were immune to the virus.
Which would denote that there's a connection.
Right.
So they would have some
And like
kind
with
of
any
immunity.
virus,
Maybe they're
there
bringing
are
the virus
certain
with them.
with any virus, there are certain individuals that are immune to them that don't have any, they're asymptomatic when they catch the virus or whatever, but it doesn't kill them. And as such, the show goes on that they basically blame these animal human hybrids for this virus. Now, I'll be honest with you, it looks pretty guilty, right? They come at the same time. They're there at the same time. I think the show's trying to allude that they're the answer to the virus. I don't believe that to be the case. I think it's playing.
So what
with,
you're saying is, and Cody, maybe you heard this as well. Is 2019 they released and they said, hey, you can now grow these things and bring them to term. And so maybe in Wuhan, China, they were making these things and on came COVID.
Why not? Why not? Well, I'm not saying that it was successful. I'm just saying.
So the bats weren't really bats. They were bat humans.
Playing with stuff you shouldn't be
you
playing
should not
with.
Be playing with.
Right?
There's always a repercussion, right? The ripple
I'm just
effect.
saying the timing of it all. I mean, they were recording that prior to
kind of quirky, right?
The pandemic. This was all being filmed prior to the pandemic. The story was written prior to the pandemic.
Yeah.
It came out in the midst of the pandemic, and you're just going like, well, look at that.
Well.
But I don't see little deer babies running around and flying kids. So, you know, there's hope. But
there's hope.
I think it's just another horror story on what could possibly happen. Who knows, bro? Like
you didn't see no bats with goatees.
No. I think, like with anything, when someone says this is the only reason we're doing it, we talked about things like a reception end, right? I'm not going to go too deep into this, but there was something in the Doctor Strange movie we just saw, and you're like, it wasn't that bad. And I said, that's the point, though. The point is, if we just add in this is the reason. It's not very much. You conform to that and you allow it, and you have a concession.
Sure.
And when a concession happens, that there's always going to be a next step. Oh, it's just this. It's just this. Until the next thing you know, we're fully signing off on the concept of clones and animal human hybrids to where, life is determined based on we've changed the narration of what life is.
15 years ago, 20 years ago, or whatever it was, when the footage got leaked of that sheep that they cloned.
Yeah.
And it was like controversial. It was like big. But now it's okay. They can clone now, and they can justify it by food shortages and things of that nature, and they say it's beneficial. So like the organ thing. So now it's okay to create animal-human hybrids, put human DNA, human genetics within an animal because of a shortage of organs.
Well, at least that's the argument.
Right.
All right. Whether or not that's true, I mean, I don't know. But the point is, a little concession leads to another concession, leads to another concession, leads to another one. And the next thing you know, now we're in a place where all this happened and we're like, how did we get here?
There was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie called The Sixth Day, I believe. And what it was these filthy rich people, right? So if you're like a big sports player, so they show it. I think, in fact, one of the scenes is there's this quarterback and he's like highly paid and he's very good, and he just gets mangled on a hit, and he's not dead, but he's not going to play in basically this movie's version of the NFL anymore, right? And so behind the scenes, they basically kill him and replace him with a clone.
They upload him into a clone,
because it's a money thing, right? And then there was another thing where like these older people who are filthy rich, and they have clones of themselves on ice to replace their organs.
I'm not gonna like spoil the movie for anyone, but the Magic movie with Hugh Jackman.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it, I'm not gonna. It's been out for a long time.
What was that called? The
illustrate.
The Illusionist.
The Illusionist.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I won't go it because it's been out for a long time, so you really can't spoil it. But the use of technology,
right?
And what the toll it took in order for that technology to be successful was that's a fantastic movie, and it has to do with clones.
So right,
not the whole movie, but
and you don't realize it. I think you don't
realize it. Yeah.
So
that's pretty cool.
As we're gonna wrap up here, I actually want to ask two questions of us. Okay, the first one is it okay what they're doing? Because we already know there's no myth or mystery behind it. You can look the stuff up. It has been okayed to do what they're doing. So, but I say as morally, what are our thoughts? That's one. Okay. Two, this is the fun question. I really want us, all three of us, to think about this. Okay. If you had unlimited money and somebody comes to you and says, we can clone you, put you on ice, and in this way, if you ever have organ issues, heart issues, lungs, whatever, we will just replace them with the brand new one. So the two questions: is it morally right what they're doing currently? And then in a fictitious world, if you had unlimited money, would you okay a clone of yourself?
I think it's kind of hard to answer one without answering both, at least for me, right? So the idea, no, I'm not. I think when it comes to humans, right, sentient beings, created by God,
free thinkers,
I don't believe it's okay to play with it.
Yeah.
I don't believe that I'm going to go back to Cody's point. Doesn't have a soul. I don't believe that what's being created is human. Now, It may be human in the sense that it has and shares our DNA, but I don't believe that it is human.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I think it's, the theory there is that it's something new, but I don't believe it. I don't believe it to be human, right? I can go into more there, and we can talk Bible and all those things. But the reality is, I don't believe it to be human. I believe it to be a new creation, and I don't believe it's a good new creation in a good thing, in a good way. I don't think that it should be done. I think it's playing with things again, like a virus, but we're playing with things that we shouldn't,
right?
Because I think that the outcome could be devastating.
Okay,
it could be.
So the animal human.
That being said,
shouldn't be happening.
That being said, clones.
Yeah. Clone of you specifically. Let's just talk about. Would you
There's two ways that I would look at that. If it had, again, I don't think so. I don't think it should be done. Right. Main reason is because if it's me, retains all my memories and it essentially becomes a carbon copy of who I am. You've now created a being. And with the assumption that a clone is identical, we are now talking about the creation of human life. We're talking about the recreation of human life. It would be killing a life. It would be killing someone. If you were able to reclone my body and not my head, kind of thing.
It made it in a factory.
But it's not human, so
it made it in a factory, though. Like your car.
Just because it's not human doesn't entitle it to. I'm not saying that.
Like you go down to AutoZone and get a new alternator.
No,
you know what I mean?
No. But that's what I said. It's hard to answer one without the other. So the reality is if we're talking the way that I'm talking on the first question, where I don't believe it to be human, I don't believe that the second one's possible.
Well, regardless
they're two different things, right?
Well, one is animal-human crossovers.
If we're talking, no. But I get what I'm saying is playing with human DNA.
You're still seeing the same moral code behind it.
I don't believe that a clone is effectively me. I don't think it is. I don't think it's going to be able to serve the purpose that you think it's going to serve. And I definitely don't know that I want someone that's still playing God, right? The body that I have is what it has. I understand transplants are a thing. God still played a role in that, right? Like if I get a transplant from some other human being that is compatible with me, I didn't create that. A human didn't create that. That was created by God.
Yeah.
It's different. I think we should stay away from it all the way around altogether. And if we're as humans ceasing to exist because of it, then so be it.
So, what about like implants? Like somebody shatters their leg and they have to have like metal put in their leg.
Created by it was
created in a lab.
Well, we're talking about reinforcement. We're not talking about life sustaining.
I got you. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm
Right?
just curious.
An artificial leg
What is-
isn't taking something from God.
Yeah. What is Cody?
What's
First animal human hybrids. I mean, like, what's your thoughts on that?
I think that humans are sacred and that there shouldn't be anything.
No animal crossovers, huh?
I don't think. No, I don't. I think that is. I don't even know what to think of that because I mean, like, I think that once you start involving like human DNA and start inside of animals, I mean, I think there's definitely a line. Like, there should be a line somewhere. I mean, but I think when you start messing with human DNA, there's humans are sacred and they shouldn't be mixed with human or not humans, but mixed with animals.
Yeah,
all.
I'm with you guys on it. I agree with you on that 100%. I think what they're doing is not okay. That's some scary stuff, and they shouldn't be messing with it. But on the other aspect, if you were filthy rich
Mm-hmm.
and you could have you
Right.
cloned,
Yeah.
put on ice, so that you could retrieve the organs when you needed them.
Yeah, I mean that kind of stuff. I do think that's immoral. I think that is a life that's
Yeah.
It's just like
Wrong.
it's super wrong.
That's
Just
what
just because
my-
it's not like walking and talking doesn't mean
That's what my
doesn't have
point was
value.
saying. My point was saying that if we were successfully able to do what I believe, my argument is if we do this in the first place, it's not a human. But the idea of a clone, when a clone is exactly what I am.
Well, if it's
right?
not a human, what is it?
Well, no. What I'm thinking is it's becoming something completely. When you have no soul, there's something completely different there, and I think you open yourselves up to things. If you believe in demons and spirits and all those things,
What is
Yeah.
the soul? Like where I mean, like
Well, yeah, and we could go a whole
well,
long
we
topic on
can
that.
go into
But
that.
I get what you're saying. The reality is if you clone this thing, if you have a clone, its brain still works, it still functions, it still understands life and death. And now, regardless at the end of the day, soul, not soul, whatever the case may be, it's a living, breathing thing. And now you're cutting into it so that you can live longer and so on and so forth. So I agree 100%. I wish I could take a stance and be like, no, man, I would totally have like 5 in the closet. Like, you know what? Time to go get me a new heart real quick so I can eat some more Cheetos and nachos. You know what I mean? Like, just smash on all kinds of food and then just heart replacement. Let's do it. But not the case. We got to take care of what we got. And because, again, it's not right. But animal human hybrids, really a thing right now. Like I said, just last year, the whole monkey human thing. So it's progressing, and it's progressing probably a little faster than it should be, and it's scary. And if you read some of the articles that stand 100% against it, the facts and things that they suggest, you can't look past that. And so they're dabbling in some stuff they probably shouldn't be dabbling in.
The last thing I'll say is I think we're seeing more and more of this. And I'm not talking about that, but I mean, we're trying to get to a point. Movies and entertainment have become a source of making people comfortable with things.
Yeah.
Right? We used to mock things and make things like, lighthearted and whatever, like cartoons and whatnot, like Minotaurs and WoW and, all those things. But
Torin.
slowly starting to show a little bit of like, oh, this could be possible because of this. I mean, we just watched Doctor Strange and we just seen them mock the Illuminati.
Yeah.
As if it were a joke or an alternate reality thing. But it allows for the thought process to be like, it's not real. This is not that. Don't look at this hand while I'm doing something with this hand.
Right.
And I think that
it diffuses it, is what it does.
100%.
So when you mock it and make a joke, you're just like, oh. So then when it happens, and next thing you know, you've got this human bull running around talking to you. When did that happen? Right? I don't know.
I don't think it'll happen like that. I think what'll happen is you'll see a successful run, and then the naysayers it'll be too late.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's already happened.
It's accepted at that point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You desensitize it, and then you drop it, and it's good. So, anyways, hey, Twisted World fam, what do you think? Animal human hybrids, should they be messing around in that stuff? Is it okay because they're building human organs in a organ shortage, and kids need transplants, people need transplants? So is it okay? Let us know what you think. We love you. Like I said, we will be doing a little bit things different for just a short period of time. Nothing crazy. And you may not even notice. So we'll keep on pressing in, moving on up, rocking and rolling. And as always, we love you. We're out.
Peace out.